The problem is we tend to care what other people think about us. Now, I'm speaking of people with Asperger syndrome in particular, but this could apply to just about anybody. In fact, I think it does. If you have a difficult problem with people who get inside your head, you know what I mean, and you begin to ruminate on this and you think about it, and it just kind of takes over your brain. It's kind of like a virus. And another problem is the person who is infecting you or affecting you has probably even forgotten that they said that thing or did that thing or whatever it is. And if they do remember, they're very delighted that they got inside your head. Now, people with Asperger syndrome, again, are susceptible to this kind of brain invasion. So let's talk about some of the ways that we can deal with this effectively. We've got 5 points, and number one is this. We need to be mindful that we must live with the consequences of our decisions, of our actions. The truth of the matter is that person who criticized you or did something that threw you off center doesn't care about you, period. Probably, or they never would have said what they said, or they would not have done what they have done. So we need to realize that they are not the ones who are going to live with the consequences of our reaction to their action. You know, every action has a consequence. Every effect has an original action. And what we allow in our brain, well, that's the effect. The person who committed the offense, if you want to call it that, they chances are they just don't care. If they do care, I'm kind of repeating myself, but it's because they delight in pulling your strings and pushing your buttons, in having control over, well, they're having control over your mind. So the first thing we need to do is take back our mind by realizing that we are the ones, not them, that we are the ones who have to take the consequences. I don't want to say suffer the consequences because it's not always suffering, but we have to pay the consequences of our decisions, not the person who is criticizing us. So you go through life, this guy tells you you're doing it wrong, or you could have done it better, or whatever it happens to be. It could be at the workplace, could be in your family, it could be just about anywhere. They're not paying the consequences, you are. So you ultimately have to be the one to make the decision. Don't allow that person to get inside your head and take the steering wheel. Number two is you need to be just flat out honest with yourself. Evaluate your strengths and your weaknesses. Now, if I were to evaluate myself, I think this is true of most anybody. We tend to exaggerate on the positive side how good we are. Not always. I know Aspie sometimes struggle with this, but sometimes we think we're smarter than we are. Or we may think we're dumber than we really are. We may think we're more capable than we really are. Or we may think that we are incapable, far more incapable than we really are. So what we need to do is find that center point which best touches on accuracy. It's kind of like, I like to use the analogy of an eclipse, where the moon comes between you and the sun. So you, the moon, the sun, perfectly aligned. So you want to take reality and realign it with your thinking. And the thinking is, am I really that good or am I really that bad? Now, neurotypical people, again, I said this earlier, but they tend to exaggerate on the positive side, how good they really are. People with Asperger syndrome, from what I've seen, they do just the opposite. They cut themselves short. Well, let's put it in this perspective. If you were a recruiter, say you were a recruiter for the NBA, would you, as the recruiter, would you recruit you? I mean, are you that good at playing basketball that if you were the recruiter, yeah, somebody like me, I'd hire him on the spot? I don't know about you, but I would not recruit me to play NBA basketball. Unless I just wanted to lose, then it would be the perfect match. Well, take that and apply it to just about anything. Would you hire you? Okay, say you're applying for a job, I don't know, at a factory. And you sit down with you're the human resources person, you're the guy who does the hiring, and you sit down with you. Go through your resume, go through your your abilities, your weaknesses. Why do you think you would be a good match? Would you hire you? And if so, why so? And if not, why not? Now again, I got to emphasize this very strongly. The people with Asperger syndrome tend to put themselves down. So truly, honestly, evaluate yourself. So the way to deal with critics, those people who get inside your head, and you just can't get them out no matter what you try to do. The second principle here is to get a honest evaluation of yourself. Would you hire you to do whatever? What that does is that pushes the criticism out of your brain, because now you are thinking clearly. You are thinking objectively. Number 3 is this, and I kind of like this one. There's only one person who can really change you, and that is you. Now, other people have influences on us. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, and sometimes they are very negative influences. But ultimately, we are in control of our brains. I know there are other people who can pull our strings, make us angry, they can make us jealous, they can make us sad, they can make us depressed, they do all those things, but in the end, at the end of the day, so to speak, whose brain is it? It's not their brain, it's our brain. We need to stop and cognitively, intentionally, willfully, purposely think about that. Now, there are what, 8 billion people on the planet? So you basically have 2 choices, because those 8 billion people are rife with critics. So you can go about trying to change all 8 billion people, or you can change you. I mean, basically, those are the 2 options. And personally, I'm thinking it'd be a whole lot easier if I just change myself rather than try to change everybody else. Because first of all, it's just impossible. Yeah, you can't even change one critic. Chances are, maybe you can, but I seriously doubt it. But you're sure not going to change all the critics everywhere all the time. Not going to happen. So focus on changing yourself and the way that we react or respond to others. Number 4 is keep this thought in mind. You've got one opportunity. Now, it's easy to say you got one life to live, use it or lose it, but it gets a lot deeper than that. Today is your only opportunity to live today. It's gone forever. Well, let's reduce that down to the hour. I've got one opportunity, and you have one opportunity to live this hour. And that's it. It's gone forever. Once this hour is over, well, how far down do you want to reduce this? We go down to a minute, a second, nanosecond, whatever. But we have one opportunity. There is no redo. There's no, say, well, we didn't do that, so let's go back and do it over. There is no dress rehearsal. I mean, it's you're on stage from the very get-go. So we can't redo today. Now, what we can do is we can work on tomorrow. We can work on the future. We can do today, whatever we do today, we can do it in focus of where we are going to be or where we want to be in the future, where we're going to be tomorrow. What happens when we do that? Well, we understand that we've got this one life, this one day, this 1 hour, this 1 nanosecond. How much of that time do we want to surrender to the critic, to those people in our lives that are making us depressed, discouraged, negative, who are hurting us? I don't want to surrender anything, no time whatsoever. Because, we use that expression, save time. We all know what that means, but in a very literal sense, and Aspies tend to think literally, but you don't save time. You can't take time, put it in a bottle, and I'll use it tomorrow. You can't take time and say, well, I don't need today's 24 hours, so I just use 20 of them, and then I'll save 4 for sometime later. You can't take time to the bank. Use it or lose it. I want to use it without the effects of criticism and negativity from those guys at the workplace who give me a hard time, those people in the family who are very negative. My personal approach to that, I'm not giving you advice on this, I'm just saying what I do. If there is an individual, wherever they are, family, workplace, church, neighborhood, if there's an individual so critical, so toxic, that they affect you emotionally and very negatively, best thing to do for me, and again, no advice, I'm just telling you what I do, I get away from them, stay away from them. I mean, I won't even go to the same place they are at, just stay away from them. Place where they are. Apologies for, what do you call that, dangling a preposition. Number 5 is this. Finally, refocus rumination. Rumination is where we take things that happened to us or occurred to us that made an imprint on our minds, negative imprints usually, and we replay those things over and over and over and over again. If you are old enough to remember the LP disc records that would put on a record player, and one of the inherent problems with those things is they would get a scratch on them and then they'd stick and they'd play the same thing over and over and over and over again until you stopped it, which is really frustrating if you're listening to a song and you really like that song and you're getting into it, and then you get a stuck record. Well, rumination is a stuck record. It's like a plastic record or whatever they made them out of, playing over and over and over again in your mind. So we are taking the negatives and we are reusing them. We are reliving that experience, wasting today's time that should be used for something else. And we are reliving, replaying those experiences in our mind. Now, it's not easy to get those things out of there, but the only way I know to do it, and maybe there's something else that I'm missing here, is to refocus intentionally. Willfully, purposely refocus your brain. Stop and think about something else. Now, you may say, I tried that, my brain just goes right back. It's kind of like a magnet pulling it in. It's kind of like it's got a rope on it. I try to get away, and those thoughts of rumination just pull me back. Sometimes we need something external to stop the rumination. For example, listen to music. Some song you like, some group you like to listen to, some recording artist, get on the internet, wherever, and just listen to the music, maybe even sing along. Dance if you want to, I don't care, whatever. But maybe read a book. Maybe watch the news. That'll lift you up, won't it? Okay, maybe you better not do that. But refocus your rumination. Because every second, repeating myself here, but every second you waste ruminating is a second that you cannot recover ever. All right, take a look on your screen, and there they are, 2 rectangle boxes. If you want our conversation to continue, click on one of those boxes, and we just keep on talking. But if you're done, well, then we thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.